Eternity's Shadow by E. Thomas Canton. Copyright 2024 E. Thomas Canton. All rights reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic or mechanical, including photocopy, recording, or by any information storage and retrieval system, without written consent from the publisher. Credits. Voices by MURF.com. Sound effects from www.freesoundslibrary.com. Additional sound effects from www.zapsplat.com and pixarbari.com. Music by www.zapsplat.com and IB.
There are certain motifs that connect the multiple lives I seem to have led. These motifs transition me from my current life to my next. Brooke Adams. Octavia Wilde. My lungs were famished, but no air existed to consume. The darkness engulfed me as my body heat dissipated into the black. Which way was up? I needed air. Odd, but I remembered once reading an account of a pilot flying at night without instrumentation. He was deep in the Arctic where no lights defined the land below him. He couldn't get his bearings, and feared he had flown too close to the ground. He dropped a flare out of the cockpit to get a sign of his altitude. The flare fell up. He never knew it, but he'd been flying upside down. I'd never believed that story. I mean, how could you not tell you were upside down? Now, I became the one in the dark, with no idea which direction to swim. Panic took hold of my brain. Where's my flare? Oh my God. This better work. Opening my mouth, I allowed the last remaining air to escape and watched as the bubble rose. The surface couldn't be far. That's it. Reason it through. Thinking your way through will avoid panic. Shivering, I forced myself to swim in the same direction as the bubble. It seemed like I swam and swam without ever getting to the surface. Oh my God. I can't move my arm for the pain. I could feel my heartbeat thudding in my chest. No air. I had no air. What if I'm going in the wrong direction? What if this world had no surface? That can't be right. I remembered falling out of the door. So there had to be a surface. How far could I have fallen? A few meters. Couldn't be more than that. Waves of relief flooded through my entire body as I broke the surface. My lungs filled with as much sweet air as I could take in before falling back into the water. Calmer now as my initial panic receded and my rational mind once again assumed control. Thinking the situation through, I realized that fresh, not salt water, filled my mouth. That meant I bobbed up and down in a lake, not an ocean. I felt better, even as the waves tossed me around like discarded trash. The door floated above the waves in a manner that made me stop for a moment, because the sight startled me. I made a supreme effort, pushing toward it to have something to grab onto. I reached as far out of the water as I could, but the door vanished as my fingers brushed it. Could this be penance for my sins? I had thought so. This had to be a test, to see if I could prove myself worthy. Worthy of what? I wasn't sure. But I needed to get some fight in me if I wanted to survive the night. I needed to psych myself up. Almost in reply to my attitude came another challenge, as the Arctic wind began pelting me with hail. I jerked my head around to find a shore. Most civilizations build around bodies of water or rivers, especially in temperate regions. Being such a dark night, they would have their lights on. I only had to locate them to give me a direction. This depended on the idea that a civilization existed on this earth, and that it had advanced enough to have electricity, or that I had not fallen into a conservation region. My hopes faded. Lights? Not far away. I looked further to my right, and saw what must have been a city of millions. I still needed to get there without drowning or freezing to death. And so began the biggest physical effort I had ever made in my life. The problem with living in your head is that you neglect the physical, and I paid for that with every stroke of my arm. Every breath pained my lungs and my already suffering ribs. Every time I got closer, the waves would push me back out again. I can't do this. I can't. I needed just one more push to get to shore, but my aching muscles wouldn't move my arm the way I wanted them to. They jerked and flailed. I felt helpless to control them. My mind, always my greatest asset, had fallen into fatigue and refused to help. I breathed as if not enough air existed to fill my lungs, and my heart punched my chest like a prizefighter. I lay on my back to rest before another effort, but I knew there wouldn't be another try. The waves toss me around in the hail like their plaything. I don't care. Let them have their way with me. I'll end up where I end up. Why am I in the water? My name is BR. No, that's not my name. Is it? How did I get here? Where? My eyes fought to stay closed, but I fought back as much as I could. After a few moments, the city lights became brighter and brighter. The waves carried me toward the shore. The wax paper scraped me. No, the wet sand scraped my face as the tide threw me onto the bench. Beach? Beach? I. Thrown onto a beach. What beach? Where am I? I lay there as the icy waves beat on me without mercy. I had stopped shivering, and my breathing became shallow. The picture of Fen came free from my pocket to lodge beside me, half buried in sand. Watching the driving hail disintegrate the already soaking picture right in front of me. I tried to save it, but didn't have the strength. I tried to memorize her face, her smile, her eyes. Everything about her. The rain took what little the lake had left behind. It vanished right in front of me. I cried as I lay there all alone, struggling to breathe. I wanted to sleep, and to never wake up. Where am I? That's not my name. Clarity. I need clarity. Can't black out. Need to remember. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. I know this. This is from the book of Ecclesiastes. Even in university, this had been one of my favorite songs. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. No, the music's going away. Don't make it go.